Hey guys, it's been a while since I've made my last video. Well, Halloween is coming up and I've decided to do at least one video for Halloween. Now, I was thinking about doing a top 10 best horror movies of all time list because I've watched a lot of horror movies, especially recently, and there are so many great ones out there, but really a lot of them are the same ones that many people have already praised over the years. The Shining, Shaun of the Dead, The Thing, Psycho. All these movies are so good, and yet everybody has pretty much said all there is to say about them. And so I started thinking, well, what if I did a list of the top 10 best horror movies of the past decade? Because really, when you think about it, the 2010s was a great decade for horror. Because horror is a great genre to start off with when you're an upcoming filmmaker. And since technology has become readily available over the years, more and more voices are being heard and more stories are being told. So yeah, without any further ado, here are my top 10 best horror movies of the 2010s decade. Number 10, Ouija: Origin of Evil. This was a movie that I was mocking before it came out. Because if you don't know, I really did not like the first Ouija. I didn't think it was scary, the characters were idiots, the big twist at the end doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So when they said that they were going to be doing a sequel to Ouija, I was like, why? This movie was so awful. Well, I mean, granted, it, made a lot of money based on a small budget, but I was like, really? Ouija 2, we're doing this? And oh my god, this might be the most shockingly great movie I've ever seen in my life. I've been surprised by movies before, like God's Not Dead, Light and Darkness, and Dora and the Lost City of Gold. Those two would definitely be up there. But for me, the biggest difference between how uninterested I was in the movie with how incredible it ended up being, I thought, was Ouija: Origin of Evil. This took everything that was stupid about the first Ouija and added a lot to it to make it really good. Like, for example, there's this one twist in Ouija that honestly didn't make any sense at all, as I previously stated. But, however, Ouija: Origin of Evil actually manages to explain why that was the case, considering this is a prequel. Not to mention, the scares are actually scary. The characters are actually really good. The acting is really good. Everything that was awful about the first Ouija, director Mike Flanagan was so able to make great in the prequel, or sequel. I mean, technically this is a prequel, but whatever. Whatever the case, go see Ouija: Origin of Evil. This is probably the best example of a sequel way better than the original. Number 9, The Conjuring. The Conjuring has inspired a whole cinematic universe in of itself when it comes to horror. Probably one of the few horror cinematic universes I can think of. And yeah, as much as we like to make fun of Annabelle and The Nun and The Curse of La Llorona, many people forget that the first Conjuring was really scary. Like, it was really well crafted. Based on a true story, if you can really call it a true story, The Conjuring is about Ed and Lorraine Warren, a couple of paranormal investigators who are brought in to investigate this family that is having some weird experiences. And as you can probably tell, considering this is a possession movie, shit hits the fan real quick. The Conjuring just really manages to keep this atmosphere of like just something's not right. And considering that the two main characters are really professional paranormal investigators, it turns into like a mystery of sorts, and you're along with the journey with them. It's a really well told movie, and it, of course, I can see why it spawned such a vast cinematic universe. With a Conjuring 3, I think, coming out next year, I think, maybe? But whatever the case, yeah, Conjuring, it's great. Number 8, Annihilation. This was a movie I was not expecting to be a horror movie. Because, like, after Ex Machina, okay, we were thinking, alright, this is probably just gonna be some really trippy science fiction movie. Which, I mean, it is. But halfway through the movie, I started to realize, wait, this is a horror movie. Really trippy effects bring these creatures to life really well, especially one of the creepiest things I've ever seen in a movie, which is that damn bear with something that I'm probably not even going to explain why it's so creepy, because part of it comes from its vocals and how it roars. Annihilation really manages to blend beauty and horror almost seamlessly, to where it's like, at one point you're being enthralled by something, while at the same time you're just like, fucking get away. The imagery is creepy, the score is probably one of the best horror movie scores I've ever heard in my life, and it really is one of those movies where, like, it's not that the execution wasn't brilliant, because it really is, but the concepts are just so interesting. It's so creative visually. Like, nothing that I would really nominate for an Oscar for in terms of visual effects, but it does get the job done just fine. Hell, more than fine in my opinion. It does it great. Some people were kind of mixed on this. Critics seem to like it pretty well, but Annihilation is a horror movie that I'm never going to forget. Number 7, It. Don't get me wrong, It Chapter 2 was great as well. Hell, I thought it was even better than some people said it was. But even I will say that nothing can really compare to that first It that came out in 2017. This was a movie that I think many people were really unsure of. Like, this was going to be a remake of the Stephen King miniseries back in the 90s, and while a lot of people today would probably say, yeah, it wasn't that good, it was actually pretty stupid, the one thing that did stand out in that movie was Tim Curry as Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Everyone was wondering, is Bill Skarsgård really gonna deliver as Pennywise? In the promo images, a lot of people were thinking, are they making him a little bit too creepy? Like, so creepy that no kid would ever want to be enthralled by this clown? But then it was released and everyone's jaws were dropped. Bill Skarsgård really managed to make Pennywise his own, with not only being really creepy and whatnot, and actually a legit threatening presence, but giving him some legit humorous moments. Like, he's not afraid to go a little bit silly every once in a while, and it gives him a great personality that pays homage to Tim Curry, but not ripping off of Tim Curry. And seeing as how this movie is currently the highest grossing horror movie of all time, really fun effects, really good makeup, and characters that are so fun to follow that you really are wondering what's going to happen to them in It Chapter 2, it is definitely one that I would consider a blockbuster horror movie. Number 6, Split. Seeing as how Glass literally came out last year, it's not really a spoiler anymore to say that Split is a secret sequel to Unbreakable, and nobody knew this going into it. James McAvoy's performance as Kevin Wendell Crumb and all of his different personalities, he really delivers it in such a subtle way that it's just like, holy shit, this is James McAvoy? Honestly, I think this is one of the best performances I've ever seen in a horror movie, which honestly we're going to be getting into quite a few of those later on in the list. But if James McAvoy's performance in this movie didn't work, a lot of this movie would crumble so badly. But luckily, M. Night Shyamalan and James McAvoy found a perfect middle ground between the really creepy moments of Kevin, as well as legit intentional humorous moments. And yeah, the fact that this is a sequel to Unbreakable answers a lot of questions in this movie, because a lot of people, especially this year, got really mad over Split because they said it was exaggerating mental illness, it was exaggerating multiple personality disorders and whatnot. Well, I mean, yeah, it exaggerates it, but because this is a sequel to Unbreakable, it's meant to be that way. He's not a normal person who just so happens to have multiple personalities. As it was said in the first Unbreakable, people have different fates. Some are destined to be heroes, and some are destined to be villains. It's all chosen by fate. Kevin was chosen by fate to be a villain. He's not just some normal guy with any kind of multiple personality disorder. He was chosen by fate to be a bad guy. He's not normal. That's why he has such unnatural superhuman strength. And honestly, I thought it was all done very well, and who knew that Shyamalan would do this? I mean, yeah, his previous film was The Visit, which did get a pretty good response, but again, no one was really expecting Shyamalan to come out swinging like this. Like, this was actually his best reviewed movie since The Sixth Sense. So, you can understand why that was actually kind of shocking for a lot of people. Despite the controversies, I still think Split is a damn great horror movie. Number 5, 10 Cloverfield Lane. The first Cloverfield, like everyone, I think is great. I thought it was a really interesting use of the found footage genre, and wasn't doing it just for scares. Like, it showed that you could do like a big kaiju monster movie with this technology. Well, then in January of 2016, the trailer for a movie called 10 Cloverfield Lane dropped, and everyone was shocked. In case you don't remember, no one knew that they were doing a Cloverfield 2. And then suddenly the trailer for 10 Cloverfield Lane dropped, and not only did it seem very different from the first one, with this one not even being a found footage movie, but even in tone it was really different. And even when you saw the movie, it wasn't all that connected to the first Cloverfield. It really seemed to be its own story. And since the Cloverfield paradox came out, it's safe to assume that Cloverfield is sort of just the name that ties these movies together, sort of like the Twilight Zone. But 10 Cloverfield Lane I honestly thought was even better than the first one. This movie delivered creeps that no one was really expecting, and most of which come from John Goodman, who gives a career best performance in this movie. He is so intimidating, you have no idea if what he is saying is true or if he's actually crazy. Both, no one knows. But his presence really makes a lot of a difference for this movie, especially since you only know what the character played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead knows, since she's the main character. And a lot of that really shines in the screenplay, which was co-written by Damien Chazelle, the same guy who wrote and directed movies like Whiplash and La La Land. Yeah, he co-wrote a horror movie, and it's one of the most fascinating ones I've seen in a while. So yeah, if you haven't seen 10 Cloverfield Lane, check it out. Number 4. The Babadook. Yeah, in recent years, it's become like a little bit of a meme because Netflix accidentally put it in the LGBTQ section of Netflix, and now the Babadook is seen to be like a gay icon, which is honestly really funny, but the Babadook is still a very intense and really creepy horror movie. I'm not even going to try to get into the spoilers in this one, because really, there's so much to just unpack when watching this movie that really, if I told you a lot else about it, it would kind of ruin the surprise. All I will say is that this is a movie about a single mother who starts seeing a monster coming into her house called the Babadook. And that's all you need to know. All I will say is that cinematography-wise, it's incredible. Editing-wise, it is incredible. Screenplay is incredible. Directing by Jennifer Kent is incredible. The acting, holy shit, the acting is great, especially from Essie Davis, who, good God, delivers a just devastating performance. And the great thing about the Babadook is that you really never really see the Babadook that much. You only see a few glimpses of him. But that's what makes him so terrifying, the mystery behind the Babadook. If you haven't seen the Babadook yet, really check it out. I think right now it's on Amazon Prime, but yeah, check it out. Number 3. Midsommar. This was Ari Aster's second attempt at making a movie, and this one I thought was a lot better than a lot of people gave it credit for. Midsommar is a horror movie that is shot in bright daylight. Rarely in this movie are there ever like any spooky shadows where something's hiding behind something. Most of the scares in this movie happen in plain view in full daylight. It's hard to really describe this movie. Everything about this movie is so good. The performances are really good. The costume designing is really good. The production designing is really good. The cinematography is really good. The editing, and the screenplay and the direction. Ari Aster just continues to find new ways to scare people. Because, like, I mean, yeah, it's not like we haven't had some scares in horror movies in the daylight, but this is a movie where the whole point of it is for it to be daylight. It is so clever, and the world that this movie creates feels so eerie. This didn't get as much praise as a movie that you're about to see here in a bit, but however, I still think Midsommar is a damn great horror movie, and I cannot wait to see what Ari Aster does next. Number 2, Hereditary. Yeah, Ari Aster is starting to really impress me with his filmmaking skills. Hereditary was the first movie that this guy ever did, and it's so radically different from Midsommar. Midsommar mostly focused its attention on the world building and the just weird environment that the characters were in, the mind trippiness and visual creepiness of everything. Whereas Hereditary, that's where you have more of the spooky shadows, but this movie focuses a lot of its attention on character horror. The characters in this movie are so well fleshed out, especially Toni Collette. Toni Collette, I mean, I agree with a lot of people. She gives an Oscar-worthy performance in this movie. She gives maybe the best actress performance I have ever seen in a horror movie. She is devastating in this movie. But it's not like she's the only one worthy of praise. Alex Wolff, and yes, it's that same Alex Wolff from the Naked Brothers band, is stupid good in this. My jaw dropped at how good he was in Hereditary. Because, like, this is like this Nickelodeon kid star, and now he's delivering what I would also maybe consider an Oscar nomination-worthy performance in this movie. And it's always when he and his mom always go head-to-head when the tension is at its highest. I swear, this even has the scariest moment I've ever seen in a horror movie. Again, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but a lot of it has to do with what you're not shown, when you hear somebody's reaction to seeing something. Oh my god, that is the most devastating scene I have seen in any movie. Holy god, I still can't, I'm still trying to process Hereditary to this day. Not to mention that the cinematography does a great job at just showcasing the sets as if they were like dollhouses or something, which is kind of one of the themes of the movie and of itself. The editing is top-notch. The screenplay is top-notch. The direction is top-notch. I know I keep saying that about a lot of these movies, but holy shit, they're so well done. Well, I'd probably say it's up there, but not my number one best horror movie I've ever seen. Hereditary is definitely the scariest. And number one, Get Out. Yeah, I know a lot of people really love this movie, and, well, no shit, I do too. Unlike something like Hereditary, or The Babadook, or Midsommar, Get Out never really scared me. But what makes Get Out so brilliant is its ingenious story, its ingenious dialogue, and its ingenious direction. Get Out centers around a young black man named Chris, who's being taken by his girlfriend Rose to go meet her parents. He's a little bit unsure of this, and when he meets her parents, they seem off. They're not mean towards him, but they give almost like these microaggressions. Like, if I could have voted for Obama for a third term, I would have. Best president in the world. Just out of nowhere saying stuff like that. Which honestly is kind of funny, because the movie actually does have a lot of humor towards it. And it all culminates into something ingenious. At first when you're watching the movie, it's like, wait, what are these people saying? Like, it feels a little bit forced. Like the whole cop scene, and the way the characters act towards Chris. But it's how everything comes together. Once you see what happens in this movie, everything makes sense. And when you even go back to watch it multiple times, you start to pick up things that you didn't notice before. You start to notice characters looking at certain places or certain people in a way where it's like, oh wait, that's what's going on in your head. And that's the brilliance of what Jordan Peele did with Get Out. He managed to make a movie that really did pull a fast one on you, making you think it was just gonna go the cliched route when really it goes the most insane yet profound route you could ever think of. It's no wonder why Get Out got nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, and in my opinion, maybe should have won. And so yeah, Get Out is not only the best horror movie of the 2010s, but honestly, maybe the second greatest horror movie of all time, right behind The Shining. But you know what? That's the great thing about horror. It's not just one thing. You can have emotionally destructive horror movies like Hereditary. You can have big blockbuster horror movies like It that are really flashy and a lot of fun. And you can also have horror movies like Get Out that not only have a really entertaining story, but have something really important to say about the world we live in today. And that is why these are my top 10 best horror movies of the 2010s. Good news, guys! We have merch now! Go to teespring.com/stores/ChristiansReviews to get your nasty little hands on all sorts of items, including my face on a t-shirt, my face on a hoodie, my face on a pillow, my face on a tote bag, my face on a mug, my face on a wall tapestry, my face on a blanket, my face on phone cases, my face on stickers, and many more! Or how about the Hannahcast logo on those items as stated above? Wow! And best of all, they come in so many different colors, including this! What is this color? What is it? I wanna know. But wait, there's more! Act now, you can also get my exclusive Make America Cringe Again merch. Surely not a parody of the political climate we have today. Again, that's teespring.com/store/ChristiansReviews.
Order now!